Welcome to another episode of Distory. My name is Kirk from walruscarp.com, and tonight we are going to look at the backstory of Big Grizzly Mountain runaway mine cars at Hong Kong Disneyland. There's a lot to go into as we had left Grizzly Gulch, and we are now actually going to approach the ride, the queue, and then actually board the attraction and work you through all of the scenes. With me, as always, to do a deep dive of Disney history is the best Disney parks historian that I know. I don't know that many. Kate, the Disney Cicerone. Kate, how you doing this evening?
Thanks. Yeah, guess I'm doing good. That was gonna mean, but
I don't think, dude. Well, it just so happened. Hang on, time out. I think this is fair. Not only are you the best Disney parks historian that I know, and I don't know really many, but you're legit like the best. So it's like, if you're going to know one,
well, thank you.
You should know the one. You know?
That's fair. No, I honestly, I found a few things researching for this episode that I was like literally shouting, and like Elliot was across the room, was like, what's happening? What's going on? Because I was so excited to see them. So I'm excited to get into that.
Just screaming into the void about Big Grizzly Mountain already.
And the things I was screaming about, only people who listen to this podcast and you will ever care about, because they're...
Well, I'm excited. You know, you had me a hook. That's what we call a hook, kids. That was a hook. I need to know more.
Yeah. So let's dive in. I feel like what we did for this last episode, we talked about Grizzly Gulch, which is where this ride is located within Hong Kong Disneyland. And we did kind of start to get into this, but we ran out of time. So I don't want to go all the way back because we don't have time for that. But I do want to just mention a little bit about this ride before we kind of dive into some new stuff. So like we talked about last week, this is a hybrid of Big Thunder Mountain, Expedition Everest, California's Screamin' / the Incredicoaster, and Disney's California Adventure Grizzly River Run. Also in a little bit of Bear Country in Disneyland. So it's like a hybrid of all kinds of rides. And it makes it really interesting, I think.
Again, remember, this is like kind of like the patchwork quilt of rides. So it's like taking all these different systems, putting it together to make you warm and fuzzy.
I love that. It's a great way of putting it.
Off the cuff, kids.
This is also the second Disney ride to have a backwards section of track after Expedition Everest. And we did talk about how the mountain peak resembles Grizzly Peak in California Adventure, but doesn't look exactly the same. So here you can see them side by side. This is California Adventure's Grizzly Peak, and then we have the one that is over on Big Grizzly Mountain Runaway Mine Cars, which is a mouthful.
Yeah, dude, it's almost as annoying as Hagrid's magical creature motorbike adventure. Like, whoever designed those, why? Like, yeah. The only thing I can say is, well, yeah, I guess the trademark's probably available.
Yeah, right? I don't, it reminds me, though, of Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland, which is also a mouthful, but I think this one goes one above. It's even further longer.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a little much.
Yeah.
Do we want to give a little bit of a backstory about?
Yeah. Do you want to do it? Or you want me?
Yeah, I got us. I'll work us from Grizzly Gulch like very quickly into actually how this whole entire mountain gets. Why is it part of the story? Why is this significant?
Perfect.
The founding of Grizzly Gulch is a frontier mining town. During the gold rush era, prospectors from far and wide flocked to this remote area in search of gold, drawn by rumors of abundant riches hidden within the Big Grizzly Mountain. The town quickly grew, much like most prospecting towns, built and based around a miner's camp as they began digging into the mountain. Now, the discovery of gold is where the miners' hard work paid off, and they struck a large vein of gold within the mountain. In fact, we saw this last week when we saw the humongous nugget of gold that was sitting on that one scale. And in fact, we'll talk about that gold nugget a little bit more as we start going into the very beginning part of this queue. So as a result, Grizzly Gulch became bustling, lively community, saloons, general stores, all those types of things that made Wild West towns. Now, the role of the grizzly bears, because this is called Big Grizzly Mountain, it's home to a family of mischievous bears, and they have cute little adorable names. One is named Rocky, that's the dad. Then there's Mother Lode, and that's the mama, and then Nugget is the little baby bear. And these bears are curious by nature. They're attracted to all the sounds in the mine. And as the mining operations continue, the bears begin to interact with the equipment of the miners, causing trouble for those miners. And this is where the decline of the mine occurs. Over time, the miners found it increasingly difficult to work due to the constant interference from the bears. The bears' antics caused equipment malfunctions, accidents, and of course, general chaos. Despite their efforts, the miners could not control the bear problem, and many decided to abandon their gold claims. And so now the attraction is picking up in the current state of Grizzly Gulch, where the town has basically become only a tourist attraction, inviting guests to take a ride on the Runaway mine cars that once transported the gold that made this place famous.
You know, and I did a little bit of digging into the meaning of bears in Chinese culture because I wanted to understand, you know, they have so much obvious use of numbers in this attraction that all ties back to that culture. And I was like, there's got to be a connection to bears as well. And so I did a little bit of digging, and I saw that in Chinese culture, this was big in the Han Dynasty. They worshipped the bear. So they had, like, if you look back at the artifacts from this era, if you look at jade objects, pottery, lacquer work, bronze equipment, sculptures, pots, whatever you got, a lot of them featured bears because of that's what they worshipped at that point in history, which was 206 BC to 22 AD. And so the bear became a totem, which is an animal with spiritual significance. And so I found some actual pictures of like items from the Han Dynasty. Look at this pot. This cute little bear.
That looks like something that you would find in the Everest like museum piece. Do you know what I mean?
True. And they this one is a little golden bear too. He's like kneeling. And I went through and like, yeah, they have all these pictures of bears and depictions of bears. And I also found out that it's also significant in the practice of feng shui, which is the Chinese art of harmonizing humans with their environment. A bear represents masculine energies. And so placing a figure of a bear in your home, like in the main entrance, helps to protect the house and its inhabitants. You can also place a bear's image in the part of the home where children might reside to help parents give birth to a strong, healthy baby boy, which, if you know anything about Chinese culture, they really do value their baby boys, unfortunately. But I do love the significance of the meaning of bears in that culture.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I also want to just do a quick mention because we have come really far in this series, Kirk. I was looking back at like when we started this series. Wasn't it like the beginning of the year? This has like been a half-year endeavor. It's crazy long.
We take our time.
But I was looking back at when we first started talking about Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland. And, you know, of course, they had that Bear Country that was based off of the true life adventure documentary by Walt Disney that was Bear Country. So we really can't talk about the bears unless we're going to talk about those as well, which we went over quite a bit in those episodes, so we don't need to kind of go all the way back. But we're going to revisit some of Marc Davis's cute little bears that he designed for that attraction. They kind of come back to life in this one as we go.
Also, just timing-wise, Brother Bear, of course.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Brother Bear gets so forgotten about, quite honestly.
Yeah, well, dude, I think of Brother Bear in the same way that I think of Dinosaur, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I would never associate, right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it exists.
Yeah. Anyway, do you have anything else for concept art? Do you have any more?
No.
I've got a couple things. Some of them I was already showing as you talked there, but I do have, this one's a really fun one of the actual ride, which you can see them going really fast and the people looking really happy.
Yeah. Well, again, this using linear induction out of an explosive mine shaft. Very cool. Very telling.
It's really interesting to see that transformation from when they first used linear induction technology in a roller coaster for Big Thunder, and the fact that they use that for this one. You know, again, your little patchwork quilt.
Yeah. Well, you know, in the load station, they use it to just disembark out of the station and use a traditional chain lift. So it's cool to actually see this as a fast-moving propulsion rather than just a singular in the station.
Right, for sure. This is the other concept art that I have that just shows the Grizzly Gulch in the background and then the car in the front. That being said, should we head to the queue?
Cue it up.
Let's do it. So this begins in the Big Grizzly Mountain Mining Company building. So when you approach the building, it has the BGM logo on it with a bear on the front. And outside you see one of your favorite things, a mine car. Whee! Yeah. It says Old 801 Lucky Nugget Mine Car. Remember, 8 is lucky in Chinese culture. It says, here sits Old 801, the mine car that had the weighty task of removing the lucky nugget from the Big Grizzly Mountain mine. Alas, the heft of the sparkler proved too much, buckling the axle and breaking the wheels plumb off. Its service on that prosperous day shall never be forgot.
Now, I did a little bit more research again on the number 8. Now, I know we talked about it briefly, but I found a couple other little nuggets. In Mandarin, the number 8 is pronounced ba, which sounds very familiar to fa, which means to prosper or make fortune. So phonetically, the association with 8 and wealth and success are very similar. Also, the visualization of balance and harmony with the 8 being an infinity symbol.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's associated with Chinese culture and the endless possibilities and continuity of life, which I think is... Yeah. Well, correct. Yin yang is more like a Taoist principle, but similar, there's a lot of influence between each other. So, and then even in Chinese history, because of that significance of the number 8, the Beijing Olympics were on August 8th, 2008, and it started at 8:08:08 p.m.
I love that.
Yeah, so it was 08:08:08 at 8:08:08 p.m. So clearly it's ingrained.
Very lucky.
Yeah, it's very, very lucky, which I think is cool.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so before we kind of head into the inside of the queue, do you have anything? I have a couple of things outside. Do you have anything you want to share?
Did you do any research on this Grizzly Gulch pamphlet?
I didn't.
There's just a couple of little fun snippets in here because they show some photos of the effective opening of the assay office that's over here. But they do mention I don't know if there's any connection. There's Phineas Cosgrove is mentioned in here, and I don't know what the connection could or isn't, but is Phineas connected to anything? That's
I haven't seen anything about it. I looked. I haven't seen anything.
I tried. I couldn't find anything. The other thing that I found was the Honorable Josiah Moneyworth was the manager of the Gold Mountain Bank and Trust and congratulates Dr. Ignatius Stone, head geologist of the Assayer Office of Big Grizzly Mountain Mining Company. I just like that they called him Ignatius, because it's the fact that it's Ignatius Stone is definitely right. It's a play on words for igneous stone, which is that molten hot magma that crystallizes and solidifies.
Well, and we'll see that come up later in the queue as well. Mm-hmm. He comes back later. That's really fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on that?
Nope.
Okay, so I just found a couple of pictures of the outdoor queue. There's not a lot out there. It's pretty, it's nicely decorated, but it's kind of sparse. There is this one ore cart on some rails that you can find. But I did find something that this is one of the things I screamed about. There's a couple of them, but this is one of them. So on this sign up here, this says Light 'em and Hide Dynamite. So
that's a lot better.
We have Light 'em and Hide Dynamite as a throwback to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
There's actually a couple of crates in here, and I know how excited you get about crates. Apparently, you're crates. Screaming at your poor husband about Light 'em and Hide. But there's a couple of crates in here that throw back. Especially, there's actually one that just directly calls out Big Thunder.
Yeah. So anyway, Light 'em and Hide Dynamite is hanging up there, but you can only see it in the queue. It's kind of on like if you're looking towards the loading area while you're in the queue, that's a sign that's hanging up there. And that's pretty much all I have for outside in terms of the queue, unless you have anything else.
Yeah, the only thing that I was going to say is they do actually show that minecart 801 PC and the Wheels of Fortune, which are, it's the broken, basically, undercarriage of that minecart. They do have that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. It's like the axle parts of where it buckled under that one gigantic gold nugget.
You know, I think it's right next to these. Do you see these two little circles?
It is. It's right. It's on the left. Yep. Those look like they do like fun eggs or something, or do you know what I mean? Like
it
those
looks like
look like
thing.
It looks like some sort of like, I don't know if it would be a holiday related thing or if it was a scavenger hunt that like they would do in Epcot.
Yeah. To me, it looks exactly like the ones they do in Disneyland at Easter time when you're trying to look for all the characters. So that's what I think.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. All right, so let's head inside, and I just want to mention that there's just a lot of photos on the walls. I don't necessarily want to like pick them out in exact locations because I'm not going to remember, but there are a lot of photos, and some of them are ones that are just of like actual miners doing miner things from back in the 1800s. And then there's ones that are very clearly staged within the town of Grizzly Gulch itself. And so those are actually quite fun, and they're just made to look like old photos. So these ones are like traditional old antique mining photos.
The ones in Grizzly Gulch look like old time photos. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you go to like the boardwalk or some like touristy thing and you like put on your like faux Wild West clothes and take photos.
They like tell you not to smile, you know, because
right,
you couldn't smile back then.
Oh, look, there you go. There's some, hang on, keep that one up because I'm in the queue. We just stepped in, and this is actually above those photos is like a little tiny, not attic area, but whatever, shelving above. And it does have a lot of crates, but the one that you're looking at is right there in red. Big Thunder, and then yours finishes off. Do you want to read?
I can't read
yours. Okay, yours says Big Thunder Explosives. You might want to flip it though so that you can like turn it to yourself so you can read the small print because it's very tiny. Bottom left crate.
Something about a bang up job for a bang up job. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't know why I missed that looking at it earlier. What is your one that's on the side there? Machine Works?
So we have Machine Works replacement parts. Then you have Eureka, and I can't read it, but then it says chisels, hammers, and picks. There's another one for Old Virginia. There's also just a standard generic dynamite one, and that's it.
Yeah, I love those. I love crates. That's all I need.
That's a weird thing to say.
Crates and lumber.
You know what? You know, it is funny though because crates are a big part of storytelling elements because it gives you a billboarding strategy to tell a facsimile ad that layers into either interactions or story pieces that are part of showcasing where we're heading, right? So like if you knew nothing about this and you saw that we were going into a mine and then you started reading a bunch of dynamite and explosive things, it would give you a little foreshadowing into what potentially could be happening.
So some of these photos are great, though, for storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
You know, what's going on in the town. So they're really interesting to look at in that way. This one definitely looks more like a classic one. You can tell it's dirt road and whatnot. But anyway, I like this one a lot. There's the geysers erupting and they're all celebrating. Like it's the best thing ever. Woo! So anyway, lots and lots of fun photos on the walls as we go through this queue. But I just thought I'd just talk about them all at once rather than kind of, you know, going back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many on the walls. Like it's just, you can see this hallway. It's just all over the place, which is great if you have some time to actually spend some time in the queue and wander around looking at them. But a lot of times I feel like probably most guests, because this is right as soon as you enter, fly past this. It's probably not usually all the way out.
Besides the photos on the walls, the first thing that we reach is the foreman's office, which I'm very excited about. So let's talk about the foreman's office a little bit. And this is, do you want to read the name of the foreman? Do you have that?
I do. Hang on. We're entering in from the queue, we're going to make a right-hand turn, and this is the office. But I want to point out one thing before we actually get into the office itself. I don't know if you noticed this. Did you notice this?
That's in the office.
Yeah, did you notice on the left-hand side?
The stove?
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time researching the stove.
I just wanted to make sure that
it's
you saw
the office. That's why I was trying to introduce the office.
Yeah. Well, the way this guy has it set up, it's like it's a little bit disheveled. So I am I am Shovelman Foreman.
Yeah. So let's talk about the stove since you went there first. Let's get the stove out of the way so that I can be happy.
Did you scream for this too?
I was so happy when I saw this stove. I knew you wouldn't be excited about this one.
No, who cares, dude? No, I'm just kidding. I like it. It was one thing that as soon as I saw it, I was like, I'll allow Kate to dive into stove talk.
Yeah, the bummer part about this is like
the bummer part about this. The bummer part. What are you thoughts about the stove?
Because it's not a round oak stove. I was really hoping it would be another one from that series. And it was a round oak stove.
Oh, it's that Bob. Kids,
leave me alone.
It's a shame if your 18 to early 1900 stoves do not meet your expectations here on Distory. It's really awful. It could ruin a whole podcast, to be honest. But we'll stoke the fires. We'll be fine.
Oh, look at that. It's getting hot in here. All right. So... I want to talk about the stoves now.
Dude, you're the one who's quoting like our awful music from when we were kids.
As if you don't every single episode.
Oh my gosh, I have to.
All right. Pull it together. Let's talk about this stove. It is a pot-belly wood stove. And from all of my research, I did a whole bunch of kind of like reverse image searches, and I looked around everywhere to try to find what this was. And it definitely, I think what this is something that they purchased. They purchased this new, and then they made it look antiqued, because I found where you can actually purchase this pretty much exact same variety. Let me make it bigger for you.
Okay, so when we make it, Kate, do I have to buy you this thing?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Just noted.
Yeah, sticking Tommies in this wood stove. That's what I want. So anyway, so you can pretty much buy this, and actually you can buy it in China. So I think they just bought, it's kind of like a replica antique wood stove, which is sad to me that it's not like a real antique. But that's what it is. I'm happy that it's there for the storytelling and the connection back to Walt Disney World's Big Thunder. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's all I have on the stove, sadly, because there's nothing else to tell. It's pretty much they bought it new and made it look old, which is sad.
Sad.
All right, so we shovel our way around this office a little bit. We've got all kinds of things here, including some books on the shelf that were the bear facts and the bear necessities. So we have little bear things. They also have a desk that has a bear statue above it. Sitting.
It's like a bookend.
Yeah, there's two of them. There's actually like two of them. Well, there's that one too. Look, there's one on the shelf. And there's also one in the mailbox. I got a really good photo of it. Do you see him like poking out of the mailbox?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so there's like bears all over this office, and I think there's probably 8 of them if we looked around. I'm guessing, but I can't tell because a lot of these pictures are super blurry.
Yeah, that probably makes sense though.
Yeah. So
did you notice there's a spittoon down there too? Ooh.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, down on the bottom left. Gross. I like how we both say gross at the exact same way. Same time.
I couldn't tell whose portrait was on this desk either. I don't know if you noticed. I feel like this has got to be somebody from Imagineering or something,
Probably.
But I just can't. It's impossible to tell from this picture. There's also a cup of tea, a magnifying glass, and ledgers. I think there are ledgers that are open here with some
Are they
glasses.
Heath ledgers? Greatest setup
Never
of all
gonna
time.
get me with that again. There's also an oil lamp sitting on the desk as well, and some other ledgers, not Heath ledgers, sitting next to it. What other things have you found? Because that's definitely not everything that's here.
No, you have a Big Grizzly Mountain mailbag over to the left, or it could be a money bag. I'm not sure of the difference because this is a mailroom. I'm assuming it's that.
Yeah.
But it could also be money related as well. I also noticed that the shovelman, his foreman's hat and gear, which we actually saw in those photos, is hanging up. So I thought that was cool, like continuity that was continued throughout here. I also found another bear. I just found a bear down here.
Oh yeah.
And I just found another bear up here.
So
I feel like, you are definitely
3, 4,
1, 2,
5, 6.
3. Yep. And then
at least 6.
Did you do the
I bet
bookend
there's
one?
Yeah, but I wonder if on this cuckoo clock, I wonder if there's a bear on there somewhere that we just can't see.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
There's 2 bears on the shelf right next to him. And then, there's also, did you notice that there's a number 8 for the calendar? The date is also 8.
The desk has another bear. There's one.
Does it?
Uh-huh. And the bookends are both bears.
So that's 8. That's 8.
That's 8.
I think that makes 8.
Wow, dude. Welcome to what you just saw there, kids. What you just saw was the making of a great TikTok. Seriously, that's a great story.
Yeah.
And the significance of 8 and Big Grizzly Mountain Runaway. And maybe, just maybe, when this celebrates its 15th anniversary, they'll quote you on it and not quote you.
That'll probably happen.
That tracks.
The only thing I'm bummed about is that I can't tell what names are on these mailboxes.
Yeah,
I'm very sad. So when I make it to Hong Kong someday, I'm going to be taking a lot of photos of this. I'm going to be telling people, sorry, I have to stare at the stove for a while and go around.
All I can think is everybody going, Americans are very strange people.
Well, we are, so it's okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The other things that are in this office, do we want to show the map that's on the wall?
Oh, yeah. Hang on. I actually took a picture of this because I thought this was actually legitimately good and significant. Because this is, again, telling us a lot about what we're going to experience in the ride, because there's multiple shaft numbers, and within each shaft, there's like a little notation, right? So it's like a bear sighting map. So over here on shaft 8, Rocky, which is the dad bear, is spotted in the switching area. Ooh, I wonder if we're going to see Rocky in the switching area. And then keep an eye out for Motherlode, the mama bear, and Nugget, last seen here and there. And that is all the way up at like the winch tower area. And then there's also caution. I think it says hostile bears.
Yeah.
Hostile bears, stay out. And that's over where the dynamite shaft is.
Yeah, and then down below there's another one that says quiet hibernating bears that's kind of near the tunnels.
Kate, don't talk so
sorry. Quiet hibernating bears.
Stop talking so loud.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, dude.
What's really interesting about this map is if you think about the one that's in Walt Disney World, it's a lot more detailed. There's a lot more going on. And that's something we see consistently with this attraction, is that everything's a little bit more simplified. And it makes sense because they're putting it in a place where like English is not the first language for a lot of the people here, right? Most of the people here. So it makes sense that everything that you see in English is very, very simple and very easy to understand. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not very complex. But, like, again, you basically, it's not like but if you can put all these pieces together, okay, we're going to see bears. I mean, even if you didn't know that, the logo of Big Grizzly is a giant bear in, a mining outfit. So, and then there's lots of dynamite. So you figure you can kind of like put it all together.
Yeah. There's a big bear on a pan for gold. I think it's supposed to be a gold pan.
Yeah, probably.
On the entrance. The other thing they have in this office is a sign that marks the first shaft ever dug in Big Grizzly Mountain mine on August 8th, 1888. And it says shaft number 1. So it's just the sign from it is hanging up on the wall, which is kind of nice. That's kind of like, the first dollar that you ever earn from your business. You tack it up on the wall. Same kind of concept.
How do I do that if our business is online? So I print the invoice?
Yeah, maybe that's what you do.
Something like that.
The first sale you ever made.
Yeah. I have nothing about this. I just am going to show there's a bone in a bowl.
Oh, I was going to say that. That's Lucky. That's Lucky's bone. So I think that's the dog that found the big nugget.
Okay.
That's his bone. I think that's the storytelling there. Yeah, that's all I have in the foreman's office. I think there's a ton more details that we didn't get to. It's just impossible for us to see it because of we're not physically there.
Yeah, we physically haven't. I mean, the benefit of Disneyland and Magic Kingdom's Big Thunders is we were able to visit and take a ton of photos and get really weird on some details that nobody else would.
As if we haven't gotten weird on this episode with some of this stuff.
Yeah, fair enough.
Alrighty. So shall we move into the next section of this?
I would love to.
Okay.
I barely want to be here, so let's just move on.
It's unbearable.
Oh.
That we're going into the sawmill next. And I just to give a little bit of logic behind why a sawmill is here. Why is this part of this storytelling? So mines would, when they're digging for gold back in, the 1800s, often they would have to clear, and still today, they have to clear the land of trees that are on it, often to dig on certain spots, right, to process the gold, process the material. But it also was something in the industry that they used to mill wood for structures that they needed for the mine, like sluice boxes, flumes, beams inside the mine. It takes a lot of wood to actually mine anything. They also, where they would have during the gold rush, all these towns would pop up around mining camps, and they would need to build structures like saloons and boarding houses and whatnot, like Grizzly Gulch is outside. So that's what we're seeing here is this sawmill is kind of a culmination of all of that. And I also have a lot of people who came west to mine ended up in logging instead because they made more money doing it. So it became more profitable for them to do that. And as Frederick Starr in 1865 said, forests were integral to the 4 key necessities for prosperity: cheap bread, cheap houses, cheap fuel, and cheap transportation for passengers and freights. So lumber is very important to this time period. Lumber.
I like it. Wait, what were you referencing with that?
You said that it was weird that I liked lumber, so I'm just saying.
I don't think it's... Let's go into the story of sawmills. I did look something up. This is not a joke. I found an early 1800s sawmill with a similar sledge system. Okay. So it used flanged wheels and rails. Did you just say good?
Well, because I was looking it up and I couldn't find one that looked exactly like it.
Yeah, I found 2 pictures that look very, very similar, right? So it's these sledge systems that were on rails. So if you look at this one, see how it's flat based, and behind over in this section is where it's actually shaving the round log into a piece of timber, which obviously you can use for propping up mines or building of buildings at Grizzly Gulch, all those things. But you can see that there's like a railing system that's utilized. Where did that picture go? So the same exact kind of railing system is being used on this. Just imagine that this is the reverse side of the picture that you're seeing over there. And then I did also find this one had another similar image of like a sawmill system like that. It's just this one has a ramp up to it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. What's also interesting are saw blades.
Oh, okay, great. I'm so
Let's
glad
talk
we're
about
going
it.
There. Can we?
No,
please?
I just first of all, I tried to find different saw types because, similar to when we were doing the hand saws, I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be like a bunch of different saw types for these mills. Honestly, the biggest things that would change within sawmill blades are the thicknesses and the width and the materials of the saw blades, and like spacing, and spathing. So if you look, the parts of a sawmill blade are the teeth, the tooth pitch, the gullet depth, and the tooth angle, and all. So the teeth are what we know do all the biting into the wood, and depending on the shape of the teeth, it'll cut either faster, smoother, or create more. What do they call that stuff? Kerf? What's that stuff called? Hang on.
I don't know.
It starts with a K.
I didn't research that part.
Hang on. I don't know. Kerf, which is like basically
almost like your name.
Yeah, it's like Kirk. It's like Kirk, but Kerf. Kirk. It's like how my niece would say. I don't have a niece. If I had a niece, she would go,
You're just like
"Hi,
making
Uncle
up a
Kirk."
niece so you don't.
Yeah, I'm just making up that they would call me Uncle Kerf. Uncle Kerf. So, yeah, if you want more of Uncle Kerf, then you're going to want spacing between the gullet so that it allows it to clear more of the kerf. So, yeah.
We're never going to forget the name of that now, so that's great.
No, dude, Uncle Kerf. So, yeah, you got to check your teeth and gullets.
I do have something that's from Eureka Saw Blades. This is on the outside of the building. It's called Old Reliable, and it cut the first log for Big Grizzly Mountain mine in 1888. So that's part of the storytelling here as well. They saved the first saw blade for that, which I think is fun. And other things that are in this room outside of the saw, Kirk showed a couple of them, but they have a tool crib. Do you have anything specific you want to talk about with the tool crib?
Not really. The tool crib is it's really fast when we go by it in the video, but it's like all the normal hand tools that you would see in like all the other Big Thunders.
Right. It's like stuff we've already talked about.
Yeah, it's not as cool as like MTV would make it out. Yo, welcome to my tool crib, and then you get a little tour. There's nothing really to see there. So. I wonder if the key is in the foreman's office, though. You'd have to go and find it.
Lem says tool cribs are where tools are laid down to sleep.
Yeah, well, they get tired, dude.
Yeah, the key is in the foreman's office, I think, is the most important part of that. It's just the storytelling, throwing back to the other part of that attraction, and also that the foreman has control over this particular thing. You can't access this without the foreman knowing about it. So, and then you, of course, have the paint supplies as well.
They're dripping everywhere. I don't know what the significance of that is, but
yeah, I think it just like ties into the sawmill, the idea of like they built this town. A lot of people criticize Grizzly Gulch because it looks so new in some areas, and some of it is like crumbling and falling apart. So it's like, why does some of it look really new? But I think that ties back into the storytelling here. It's clear that they just like milled this wood and built these things relatively, recently, and and they recently painted it. And so I think that's what the storytelling is here, with the paint kind of dripping out, that it's clear that they've used this somewhat recently.
There you go. Yeah. You heard it here first.
That's just my best guess. That's all I got.
It's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
I feel like that's fair.
As we go through the queue, then there's the prospectors' lockers. This one was interesting. This is where I screamed again, is here. So I found all kinds of things in this. I found a really good photo of what's inside there. And it's basically, you're supposed to be one of the prospectors. That's part of the storytelling of this as you go through this attraction. So the lockers are the place where the miners would store all their stuff they don't want to take down into the mine. And some of the stuff they didn't want to take down there is weird. Like, the most obvious one is this French horn. So, don't take your French horn down into the mine. Maybe because it's too loud and it would wake up the bears.
Maybe.
They also have a whole bunch of those metal tags that we saw in Walt Disney World's version of Big Thunder for mine access. So you would
for checking in, checking out, and make sure you don't lose somebody.
Yeah, there's a metal lunchbox that is there. There's some boots, like maybe you take off your nice boots and put on your work boots. But the thing that made me scream, Kirk, you're going to like this. Look at this. What do you see that's red?
Oh, red handkerchief.
Mm-hmm. So we saw one in Tokyo and we saw one here. And now I'm like, is there a red handkerchief on every single version of these?
I would imagine. Because that's the origin story,
Right.
And why would they forget where it all started?
So the Order of the Red Handkerchief, I'm not going to get into all of it, but that was kind of like the original mine train, Rainbow Caverns mine train miners. The first miners that worked in Disney Park, they had a red handkerchief as part of their uniform. They became the first club of Disneyland, essentially, and they still exist today. So that was a throwback to our very first episode in this series. It was a long time ago, but now we're finding red handkerchiefs specifically placed in all these attractions, and I don't think that's an accident. I absolutely think it's a throwback to that.
Little does Kate know is that I've traveled the entire globe and stuck a red handkerchief in each one of these just to mess with her.
Well, you've had enough time in this series to go all those places.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you want to know why I had to push back episodes? I was overseas.
That's why you sounded so tired. So,
That's it.
Do you have anything else about the prospectors' lockers that I might have missed?
I don't. I saw the French horn and moved on.
Yeah. I do see there's a little boiler or a heater in there as well. And then there's just lots of miscellaneous clothes. There's definitely a piece of paper sticking out of a pocket that has to be storytelling. And I just can't read it.
It's too hard to read.
Too hard to read. So I think there's an awful lot of stuff in there. If you take time to stare into the prospectors' lockers, you can find quite a few things. But up next is your buddy, Ignatius. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
No, I don't have a picture, so I don't know what you're about to show. This is a grand reveal. All right, I'm not looking.
All right, and
what are
go.
We looking at? Oh my gosh, what is that?
Yeah, so this is Dr. Ignatius Stone, geologist, and it's basically his lab. What is that word that we learned I can never say it. Metallurgist? Metallurgist?
Yeah.
So people who know gold and how to extract gold from things.
I know gold.
I know gold. I like gold. So he's working around shaft number 2, which is open below. I found a lot of great pictures of this. So you can see there's actually an open shaft down below. So that's where he's pulling material out of. And then all of it is scales, chemicals, mortar and pestle. Mortar and pestle. I can say that word.
Yeah, mortar and pestle. It's made out of those little candy things that you open up their neck and you eat things out of it. The pezzles.
The pezzles. But there's a whole bunch of supplies here. There's definitely a scale to weigh the gold. There is lots and lots of bottles and chemicals and funnels, everything you can think of that a geologist might need to do things with rock and material is in that office as well. There's also some agates on top of one of the shelves. Oh, here, I found that one. Here's the agates on top of the shelf to just kind of cement that storytelling. Anyway, then we go into the load area, and there's not a lot here. Did you find anything specific in the load area besides there's some wagon wheels, there's some supplies up on the ceiling. I don't see really anything else that it's actually quite barren in this area.
I thought that was strange. It's mainly just wood, and that's it.
There is a big boiler that's in the center of this area that I did find. So it's there. But I guess maybe that's also part of the storytelling that they've built it kind of hurriedly. It's not old to some of the other ones that we've seen. The other Big Thunders are the storytelling is that they've been around for a long time and they're old and weathered. And this one's more they built it relatively fresh. Yeah. So it's maybe that is part of it. It was wood that was processed at the sawmill. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you can actually see notching on the posts. So I don't know who just said that, but if we go back just 2 seconds, this is exactly the same piece of wood that we saw being cut, because you can see it's I don't know what size that is, but it's a square giant beam. I mean, it's the exact same one that we just saw.
Oh, yeah.
Edit that we just saw.
Oh, did you mean to do that?
No, dude, are you kidding me? That was a
Happy accident.
Well,
Well, we forgot to mention there's a giant log hanging from the ceiling of the sawmill as well.
So this is the director's cut edition of lumber, and what Kate has is the uncut version.
Oh, it's so stupid.
It's cut, not cut. Dude.
I do have a better view of it too from the side, kind of hanging up in the rafters. But are we ready to get on this train? Are we ready to go?
I would love to get out of this line.
You would? Would you?
Mm-hmm, I would.
So we're going to board one of 6 trains, which seat 24 riders each. And they do have kind of the headrest like you would see for Everest.
Is it the same ride vehicle as Everest? Because it dang near looks the same. Okay, so I think it's the exact same system as Everest because this was built in 2012 by Vekoma, who also did, or Vekoma, sorry, Vekoma.
Yeah.
And Vekoma also built Everest, but that was back in 2006.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that this is the exact same system.
I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
It looks almost identical.
Yeah, the load sequence and the thing that strikes me are the headrests, the side paneling, and the restraint system.
Okay, are we ready to leave the station? Can we go?
Let's pull this train out of the station. Let's do it.
All right. So as the train leaves the station, there are a few ore carts on tracks on the right-hand side. There's also a...
Tell me or.
There's the front side of that sign that I was talking about with Light 'em and Hide that you pass by there. But you'll see, there's an ore cart on tracks on the right side. There's a shaker box and a bucket of ore as well that we'll see. And then we go through a tunnel and we hear a whole bunch of bear growling sounds. So we're starting to have that foreshadowing of what's going to happen in this place. There's a straightaway, and this is where we see the explosives handle with care crates that we kind of showed you before. Which is foreshadowing for, what's going to happen later. There's also a metal cart with some like metal stakes, pipes, something, pickaxes on one of the sides. And then, and there's also at that point in that straightaway, there is a track switch on the left side as well.
Okay, you can't say track switch like that.
Track switch.
Also not like that. Any Runaway Railway fans, you know what we're talking about. That's not what we were talking about.
You say it
close
then.
enough. Okay, I can't.
You can't. You can't even make fun of me for how I say it, but you
Track
switch. That's what.
It's bad. I've got no voice. It's terrible.
Okay. So then we head into another tunnel, more bear growling sounds, and then we see a couple of things. You want to talk about what we see here?
I can't even see it. It's the first time that we run into bears.
Okay, so there's a sign that says "To the Lucky Lode," and it's pointing to the left, which is on your right side. And then there's a whole bunch of pink and red lighting, which is very much reminiscent of the Rainbow Caverns, like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, right?
I didn't make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Yeah, good call.
That lighting. And so then we're supposed to be heading towards tunnel number 8 shaft, which would be the Lucky Lode, which is the number 8. But something happens. You want to talk about what happens there?
Rocky backs his caboose right into the track switch, and now we are creating a little bit of mischief. Oh my gosh, I would have screamed for this. This is scream-worthy.
Right? So this is concept art for Marc Davis's version for Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland of a bear who is scratching his backside on a tree. And that's pretty much what we see here, except instead of on a tree, he's on the track switch. Mm-hmm. And he actually, if you listen, he says, uh-oh. He's like, uh-oh, after he pushes it, which is quite fun. Here's the version in Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland, so you can see where this concept came from. And, what's interesting is what struck me about these bear animatronics is they're not wearing clothes, because I feel like in America they would be wearing clothes.
Would they?
Well, I mean,
'Cause
obviously not here.
Yeah,
but
these are supposed to be just bears in nature who are causing problems, not like the country bears walking around playing music for us.
Well, right. That's what I mean. That's significant. I think that they're more natural bears than, like the country bears or whatever. So they're more like this Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland.
Kate, do you prefer your bears in clothes or out of clothes?
I prefer my bears bare.
Kate prefers her bears to be bare naked.
I'm not sure we can say that.
Okay.
Anyway, so Rocky, the bear, uses the rail switch as a back scratcher. So instead of sending us down that tunnel number 8, we're going to head to 4, which is a very unlucky number.
Oh, hang on. Before we go down that way, can I talk about the lucky load real quick?
Go for it.
So I actually found in Western mining history the lucky lode. So I had to look it up just to see if it talked about anything. And there's actually 2 lucky lode mines, but the one I'm probably guessing is more towards California because that tended to be gold rush. There was actually one in Montana that was a copper mine, but this was in Del Norte County, California, at an elevation of 2,500 feet. And this was in Cali, was called the Lucky Lode. And the commodity, though, that they mined here was chromium.
Oh, chromium. So not gold.
Yeah, not gold here. I tried to find ones that had gold, but like I said, the only other Lucky Lode that I could find was over in Montana, and that was a copper mine.
So, yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Most golds, it looks like, came from I found this distribution of gold map, and it was like a heat map, right? So most gold was northeast of Sacramento. So like just northwest of Yosemite National.
Yeah, it's interesting, when you talk about days for the Oregon Trail, when people would come across the country, and move to this beautiful land that I occupy. When they would come across, they would often make a decision about where they were going to go, and what kind of things they were going to try to pursue. So if they were going to do more like farming, and fur trapping and all that kind of stuff and trading, they would go to the, Washington, Oregon kind of contingent area. But if they wanted to try their hand at like gold mining, they would then switch and go down to, down to California through like the Applegate Trail and all those kinds of things. So then go to these areas. So really interesting. So instead of going down 8, they go down 4, and there is a sign that says danger. So, foreshadowing of what's to come. This one also looks like it's a little bit less put together in terms of, like the first one looks like it's very sturdy. This one looks like it might be going to cave in or something. It doesn't look like a good option. But 4 is a very unlucky number in Chinese culture. So that would make sense for people who understand that in China. So, all right, we go down and where am I? We become a runaway train under a rock archway and overpass, and then we see a shaft number 9 on the right. We go through another tunnel, and then we go through another shaft that I couldn't see the number of, and then go into a longer mine shaft tunnel, and then the train begins to climb a hill at the end of that, which is where we get some really significant storytelling comes into play. So this is
such a cool mechanical feature too of this attraction. So cool. This is like one of those oh man wow moments. Mm-hmm. It's pretty fantastic.
So this is very much like B-Lift on Big Thunder Mountain. It's got like a winch hill, and it's got an engine that is pulling you up the hill. That's the storytelling here, right?
Little steam donkey action. But
what does that sign say there, Kirk?
I don't know. I'm reading one that says Shaft 44. That's not the sign you want me to say.
No. So there is a sign that says the Never Fail Cable Company.
Where is that at? Oh, down here. I never read that. The Never Fail. Oh, that is so funny.
Mm-hmm. And the donkey engine is like letting off steam, like it's working overtime, which is what Disneyland's used to do once upon a time. It doesn't let off steam anymore, but it's still, and then the cable snaps, so you actually physically see the cable snap.
I think this is one of the coolest visual effects.
Mm-hmm.
Pop. So then the cable snaps and then you collapse backwards.
The timing of that is exquisite.
That is so impressive in terms of a ride feature. It's unbelievable. I hate that every time we do a version of Big Thunder, I like less the versions that I've enjoyed my entire life. And, Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, sadly, keep on paling in comparison to when you get to do it multiple times. It's just so cool.
Well, when we get to Big Thunder Mountain, Paris, I think after that has ruined me for all other Big Thunders everywhere, ever. So maybe don't go on that one, Kirk, so you'll be happy with what you got, because it's...
I have to go, because the storytelling that matches with Phantom Manor is impeccable.
You would be obsessed with that version of Big Thunder.
I know, I can't.
Like, it's so... You would...
I've said it for the longest time. We need a Big Thunder live action. This story 100%. Needs to be told.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so the lift cable has broken, and now we go backwards, which is the first time we've ever seen any sort of Big Thunder kind of attraction do this. And so now we're heading backwards. We see a couple of things. We see danger, keep out dynamite storage. We see, and then eventually you get to the place, what you see, like geysers and things like that. And then we get to the place where we see a mother bear and her cub, which is, of course, Mother Lode and Nugget, which we've been talking about, which they're located inside the mine. So this is kind of like that point in Everest where he's like ripping up the tracks, like the Yeti's like pulling up the tracks. This is kind of like where we're getting to here. Mm-hmm. But the storytelling is very different in this spot, because what it's like is they're so cute. These bears are adorable. It's kind of like they're trying to reach the fish that are hanging up on a line, but there's...
Yeah, they didn't mean to do this.
No, it's total accident. But the mama bear's kind of leaning over the baby bear and then pushing the baby bear kind of down in the process. And so Nugget's accidentally detonating some dynamite with a plunger in the process.
It's so cool because all the action that moves. So like physically seeing Nugget press the plunger while the mom is reaching for the fish, while they're in
so cute.
Yeah, they're in a mine car. There is dynamite everywhere. There's also Big Thunder explosives crate over here. And yeah, I mean, clearly they were cooking fish, because this is like cowboy coffee.
No way.
Cowboy coffee.
Yay.
Cowboy coffee. Look.
This episode has so many things in it.
Yay, cowboy coffee.
Oh.
And then there's lots of fish, and there's Mother Lode and little Nugget.
I've got lumber, but you've got cowboy coffee. We all have our things.
We have our things.
So Nugget pushes down on the plunger, sets off some TNT when reaching for the fish. And this causes the train to launch out of the mine on yet another track, which is similar to the mine car's TNT explosion scene from Walt Disney Animation Studios' film Home on the Range. Who remembers that one? Do you remember this movie?
Is there a cricket sound effect button somewhere that I can hit?
Yeah, like I think I saw this movie one time in my life, and I completely forgot that it existed, to be completely honest. But they did have like a whole bunch of like CGI minecart scenes that were in this. And then what happens is they kind of explode out of the mine, out of the side of a cliff. And so when they do that, that's kind of what this is alluding to here, is that scene from that. So, and there's also a bunch of dynamite and everything in that scene. It's similar in that way. It definitely is a reference to that. So then the train goes through a variety of twists and turns, and then that's pretty much it. It arrives at the terminal brake run, and it returns to the station. However, there is one more animatronic in here.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about that one, Kirk?
They're so cute. So now we get Mother Lode and Nugget, and they are in a mine car, but what is covering them from head to toe? Fish. They have fish all over them.
Fish. And I was looking up what's above them, because it says shaft number 13. So what's interesting is that 13 in our culture is unlucky. but 13 in Chinese culture is a lucky number. It actually translates to assured growth or added wealth, which is so appropriate for a gold mine. So, and you know what I think is really interesting too is I feel like it's a tie back. Do you remember for the original Big Thunder Mountain, how they have 13 crossed out on the main shaft?
Bad luck.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's absolutely a throwback to that original Big Thunder by alluding to 13 as kind of the culmination of the ride. Just a thought because of the differences between the two cultures too. So, yeah, I think that's about it. Do you have anything else?
No, it makes me very sad. I anytime that they use Disney uses characters, audio animatronics in dark ride portions, it makes me very happy. Anything that's not projectors, and I mean this one illustrates it perfectly. You have a physical track switch gets knocked down by Rocky. You have the cable snapping. So this is like all practical effects that are beautifully done. Then you have Motherlode and Nugget pressing down the plunger, reaching for fish, and then them at the end covered in fish in the mine car. It's just beautiful. It's so good.
I love them. Their animatronics are adorable.
I wonder merch-wise as to what they sell with these guys, because I would imagine it would do well, you know?
Oh, for sure. They're really cute. The way that they made them, their little glassy eyes, they're really, really cute. And of course, on the cart that they're in also is the BGM logo that we see throughout the entire attraction as well. So I think, unless you have anything else, that's pretty much it for this attraction.
We've, I guess we gotta leave Hong Kong.
It wasn't too unbearable, though.
No, I liked it. I again, it upsets me when I see these things because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't live without going on these things because they're some of the greatest examples of thematic storytelling attractions that are just unreal. And again, created original content that becomes intellectual property based on an attraction. So like that doesn't happen at a lot of places, you know. You might have a mascot for something, but a lot of other theme parks will like borrow licensing. These guys are still making unique, identifiable characters, but then also, I don't know, like you could just build a roller coaster. You know, you just build a roller coaster and that's all you got is roller coaster. This is not just a roller coaster. It's crazy.
Right.
So good.
The theming, the storytelling is what makes it. The fact that you're headed into a dangerous place. There's a situation that's happening to you. You have to escape it. Are you going to get out, in time? That has been through all the Big Thunder, everything that has been a theme. And, even tying it all the way back to Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland, there was elements of danger there. There was rattlesnakes. There was, mountain lions. There was always something that could get you, even if it wasn't quite as cohesive as a storyline in terms of, with a grand finale and all those things. But I think that's what makes these rides so great, is because you become part of a story and you are the prospector. You're going here and these poor bears are causing havoc for you, and it's making your life different because of what they're doing. So I think they did a brilliant job also throwing it back to so many things that were classic Big Thunder, classic Disneyland, but doing it in a really fresh, modern way that's telling a new story. I think it's great.
I also think that even the queue itself lends itself to folks who want to dive a little bit deeper, and it's not just all surface level. So I thought that was great. Right.
So that being said, are we ready to wrap it up for the evening?
Let's pull this train into the station.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode of Distory. We hope you enjoyed visiting Hong Kong and going on, I have to look up the names, this is a mouthful, Big Grizzly Mountain Runaway Mine Cars. This has been quite an adventure to really see how all these things we've been talking about in this series just come together and make this really amazing attraction. Kirk, do you have any final thoughts here as we wrap up?
I just realized that you're wearing Ewok ears to be grizzly bear ears.
This is as close as I got to bear.
That's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I love that. What a nice little touch. I just reckon.
Love that you just realized.
I've been staring at your head the whole entire time and not really like putting it together, but there it is. It's good.
Thank you.
See? Very subtle. I like it.
I try my best. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being with us. As always, we really appreciate you guys being with us on this journey and learning along with us and discovering these things. We hope that there was a few times that maybe you screamed out and were excited because you've been with us in this series as well. It's okay if you're not, though, and we're the only ones that are freaking out about crates and stoves and cowboy coffee. But but anyway, thank you guys so much. And we will see you next time. We're going to go to Disneyland Paris. We're going to head to Big Thunder Mountain there, which is the best version of Big Thunder, so you're not going to want to miss that one. But until then, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time for Distory.